5 quarterbacks and no clear plan. It sounds like a joke, but this is the Browns' real situation. And it's not a frustrated fan who says this. It's Sports Illustrated itself. Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, 2 rookies and a missing Deshaun Watson. The competition for the starting spot has become a mess. And if you think this is the worst sign of the offseason, wait until you hear what the GM had to say about Nick Chubb. The latest news from Cleveland is hot and full of controversy. Leave a like, and let's understand this chaos. The Cleveland Browns just got absolutely roasted. And not by fans, but by Sports Illustrated's Matt Verderame, who lit up the team's entire offseason strategy like it was open mic night at a comedy club. And the main punchline? Their quarterback situation. It's chaos. Seriously, what exactly is Cleveland doing under center? First, they brought in Kenny Pickett and brought back Joe Flacco, 2 guys whose best days may already be in the rearview mirror. Then they doubled down by drafting Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round and Shedeur Sanders in the 5th. So now we're looking at 5 quarterbacks in the room, not even counting Deshaun Watson, who might never take another snap for the Browns. If the old NFL saying is true, that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you actually have none, then what happens when you have 5? You've got a full-blown identity crisis. Verderame didn't hold back, ranking the Browns dead last in the AFC North and saying Cleveland has 5 quarterbacks on its roster and none who could start in most cities. Yikes, that's a gut punch. But he wasn't done. He pointed out that even if one of these QBs plays out of their mind, the rest of the roster still has holes. The O-line gave up the 2nd most sacks in the league last year and didn't get any real upgrades. The receiving core? It's Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and a whole lot of question marks. Now, the bright spots. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz is still running the show, and that's a win because the guy knows how to cook up pressure. Oh, and Myles Garrett's still in town, which almost wasn't the case. So there is some hope on the defensive side. But let's be real. This feels more like another rebuilding year than a playoff push. Cleveland's in a division with the Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers, 3 teams with actual plans at quarterback. Meanwhile, the Browns are out here collecting arms like they're playing fantasy football with no draft limit. Can they sort this mess out before week 1? That's the million-dollar question. With 5 QBs and no direction, what do you think the Browns are trying to do? Now hold on, because the Nick Chubb situation is even more painful. If you were still holding on to hope that Nick Chubb would suit up in orange and brown again, it might be time to let that dream go, or at least stash it way in the back of the closet with your old Tim Couch jersey. Browns GM Andrew Berry just gave a pretty clear signal that Chubb's days in Cleveland are likely behind him, even if he didn't slam the door all the way shut. Talking on Cleveland's 92.3 The Fan, Berry was honest but diplomatic when asked about a potential reunion. He basically said, "Hey, never say never, but yeah, don't hold your breath." The exact words, probably increasingly unlikely. That's not exactly the kind of language you use when you're drawing up new contract terms. And the reasoning is pretty straightforward. They've got a couple of young backs they like, including Jerome Ford, and they want to see how things shake out in the backfield without jumping to bring in a vet with a pretty serious injury history. And let's talk about those injuries. Chubb's 2024 campaign ended early thanks to a foot injury, and that came right after he was still working his way back from the brutal knee injury that wrecked his 2023 season. It's been a tough run lately for a guy who, when healthy, is one of the most pure runners in the league. Even last year, in just 8 games, he still cranked out over 300 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. The guy's a machine when he's got 2 working legs. Chubb's legacy in Cleveland is secure. Drafted in 2018, he's racked up 6,943 rushing yards and 51 touchdowns, all while averaging over 5 yards per carry. That's elite company. But the NFL doesn't wait around for sentiment, and right now, the Browns seem to be eyeing the future over nostalgia. Berry kept the tone respectful, calling Chubb near and dear to the team's heart, but it's clear they're not planning their 2025 season around him. If Chubb does come back, it'll likely be a late summer depth move, not the kind of return that makes headlines. So while the door's technically open, it's barely cracked. and Cleveland seems more focused on seeing what the next generation of running backs can do than reliving the past. Between the chaos on offense and the possible departure of the greatest running back of the modern Browns era, it's clear the team still seems lost in its own mirror. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters of this soap opera.